3D movie Time Capsule
for 2013.
Hello. This is Adolf. I have with me Jake.
Howdy, folks.
And welcome to 2013 in 3D Movie Time Capsule podcast. And 2013 is usually an unlucky number for us. For our purposes, we got a really lucky year here because we got a whole lot to talk about.
Yep, this was a great year for 3D.
And there's a whole ton of movies here to talk about. So we're going to skip over some smaller ones, and we may not give some ones enough time, but it's so much. And, we try to make these podcasts into about an hour long. We may have a little more in this one.
Yeah.
So we want to try an hour long just because we don't want to be, you don't want to be tired. And we're probably going to get tired after this one because this is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
You ready, Jake? You ready?
I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be.
All right. We're just going to go here in release date order. Go down the list. This list was from Wikipedia. And so dates, if it's wrong dates-wise, that's their fault, not ours. I'm not going to check every single movie date. Sorry. All right. January 4th, Texas Chainsaw 3D. Jake, what do you know about this?
Why? This is such a lame-ass remake of Tobe Hooper's incredible A Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is just such the PG-13ification of horror. I'm like, why? This wasn't cool like the remake of My Bloody Valentine. This is just lame, and I don't even know who this was for. It's not scary. It's not anything. Maybe they think people who watch the CW will go see this. This was just bewilderingly mediocre and boring.
So it got a 19% off of Rotten Tomatoes, and apparently it's full of plot holes and inconsistencies. You agree with that?
That's being charitable.
How's the 3D in this?
It's there. If you're hardcore, if you're really hardcore about 3D and can find this for like $5, you can have fun laughing at it. But I don't think you're going to get much enjoyment out of it.
All right, let's move on. Okay, let's move on. Let's keep going. We got a huge list, so we don't have that much time to talk about in each one, but we'll try. Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. Do you remember this movie?
Vaguely. It's Jeremy Renner. It's yet another Hansel and Gretel movie. This time they're adults, and they're kind of witch hunters. The 3D's fine. The movie's okay. It's nothing great. It's not particularly bad. It's just there. To me, it's like between a 6 and a 7. It's there. The 3D's not bad. If you're bored, if you've looking for something to watch in quarantine, hell, there's a lot more better movies that came out this year. But if you've already watched all of them a dozen times, I guess this one won't hurt you. And you can probably find it inexpensive.
Okay, so let's keep going. Escape from Planet Earth. This is a CG animated movie about aliens that come to Earth, and it had a big promotion with 7-Eleven. I just remember that. I never watched this. Looks like trash. Jake, do you remember this?
Yeah, it's just crap. I mean, it probably exists because some other like Monsters vs. Aliens was successful. I mean, this is just some cash-in on another more successful movie. It's mediocre. I mean, the 3D's pretty good, but most animated movies, if they have the slightest bit of care, the 3D is going to be good.
All right, so let's keep going here. We got Jack and the Giant Slayer, which is a kind of a weird movie because this caused like a whole bunch of other things to happen with Bryan Singer. This is the movie that I think he left to make after Superman Returns, right? Or something?
I'm not exactly familiar. I know I've seen this. I just don't really remember it a whole lot.
Based on the Jack and the Beanstalk idea. I remember enjoying it. I don't remember seeing it in 3D. And I remember this having like not that much money wise. Like the budget was like 200 million and the box office was about 200 million, so it wasn't that big box office wise.
Is this the one with Jack Black, or is that another fairy tale?
No, that's a different one.
Uh-huh. Because like I said, a lot of these start blending in together. This is one, it just didn't make that much of an impression on me.
Starring Nick Holt.
Ah.
Um,
He's a good actor, but he's been in a lot of bad movies.
so yeah, isn't this like also infamous for like some of the problems with to put it nicely, problems with Bryan Singer? Didn't they people start noticing them or know about them from this movie? I don't know.
There's always been problems with a singer.
All right, let's keep going here with Oz, the Great and Powerful, Wizard of Oz sequel. I actually really like this movie.
Yeah, this is if you're coming into this movie only familiar with the Warner Brothers Wizard of Oz, you might be disappointed. This is a pretty faithful overall to the spirit of the books. And there's tons and tons of little Easter eggs if you are familiar with the books. But if you're not, that's cool. But hey, you're probably not doing a whole lot right now. So hey, the books are the ones Bomb wrote are all public domain, so you can feel free to download them off the internet and have hours and hours and hours of enjoyment. No, but I like this movie overall. I mean, is it the best movie ever made? No. Is it as good as Wizard of Oz? Of course not. But it's very entertaining. It's some of it gets too fancy with it, dragging some acts out and some twists that I thought were unnecessary. But it's absolutely gorgeous to look at.
I remember the 3D being pretty excellent too.
Hmm. Yeah, this looks really impressive on the big screen in 3D.
This is starring James Franco, and I remember the opening scene. I don't know if you remember this, Jake. It was like sepia, and how they played with 3D, magnificent.
Yeah, and it changes aspect ratio and
Yes, beautiful.
And I went to a theater that actually projected it properly.
Yeah,
So I was very happy.
yeah. That how they did that was just brilliant, and that's like, oh my god, this is so cool. I remember that so well. It being 7 years ago, almost. Yeah, I think a lot of people hate this movie for some reason. I really enjoyed it.
Because it's not Wizard of Oz. All versions of the Oz story get trashed. Because it's not. I mean, even the Wiz gets trashed because it's not the Wizard of Oz. I think that's because that's most people's favorite movie.
And some people don't like James Franco. I like Franco. I like him a lot. He's a good actor.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I call a great stretch role for him, but he did well. He hit his marks. He did his dialogue. It's a worthwhile movie.
All right. So this one here, this next movie, The Croods, I watched this movie way after the fact, and I was kind of blown away by it because it is not the movie you think it is.
Yeah, this is not an Ice Age movie.
Not, yeah, you would think that because the humans were in the first Ice Age movie, and this is a Fox movie. So in theory, if they wanted to have a universe, it could work. But this is like such a dark and really fascinating movie.
Hmm. I mean, they had my my butt in a seat by having Nick Cage, but he's actually gives a great performance as the dad of this group of cavemen, or I should say cave people, I guess. I can't. I remember liking this so much. I said I can't wait for another one.
And we're still waiting. So almost 7 years.
Yeah, we're still waiting. Next year for sure.
Yeah. I think the sequel, Cruise 2, is supposed to come out this holiday season. God knows if that's going to be happening again now.
Yeah, I mean, they may cancel Christmas the way things are going.
I mean, hey, if Disney Plus wants to, because they own Fox now, if they want to do a awesome thing, release it on Christmas on Disney Plus. Boom, Cruise 2. Everyone will watch it.
Yeah, except they won't get to see it in 3D.
Yeah. How was the 3D on this?
It was good.
Okay.
Like I said, most animated movies, it's almost like you have to work to have bad 3D.
So next going on, G.I. Joe Retaliation, the second G.I. Joe movie. I've never watched any of these G.I. Joe movies.
I've seen one. I can't tell you which one it is. It bore no resemblance to the G.I. Joe action figures I played with as a kid. So I didn't know what the hell was going on. I just remember the 3D in the one I saw was fine. Bruce Willis was in it. And I'm like, why am I watching this?
The next one was supposed to come out this year, but I don't know.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
And it was weird too because it was supposed to come out this summer, and never seen anything about it, no trailer or anything. So
yeah.
Now next one here, Jake. Oh, one of my favorites. I'm wearing a T-shirt with its emblem. This is one of the defining movies of my generation. One of my movies of my life. One of the best things. Jurassic Park. Woo! Jake, what's your thoughts on the original Jurassic Park?
Nice dinosaurs.
Oh, I love this movie. I adore this movie. Jake, tell me you love this one. Tell me, please.
I like the dinosaurs.
Oh my god. All right. So the 3D conversion for IMAX, wonderful conversion.
Mm-hmm. I really thought the 3D really added to the experience, especially IMAX 3D.
The scene where the kids are leaving the kitchen and they're like going through the top of the area, and the raptor jumps up to try to catch him but doesn't get him. That scene specifically was, I knew that scene was coming. I've watched this movie like 100 times. I love this movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. And that movie in 3D, the raptor pops out and all of the people in the theater screamed. And I mean, all the kids that obviously never seen Jurassic Park before. And all the adults kind of laughed at the same time because they knew that it was happening. And it was so well done. The 3D here is gorgeous. The 3D Blu-ray of this is not that hard to find, I think, right?
Yeah, other than the fact that a lot of places are getting rid of 3D, so it got a US release, so so you should be able to find this at a reasonable price, not have to pay collector's prices yet.
Yeah, I highly recommend the 3D version of Jurassic Park. So let's keep going here. We got a whole lot more movies. So Iron Man 3. Now, this is a Christmas movie, often hated by a lot of people. And is it canon or is it not canon? Because I don't know. I like Iron Man 3.
Uh-huh, yep. I like it as much as I like the first Iron Man. I'll go that far. I love Shane Black. I didn't care much for his latest Predator, but hey, I can smell studio interference when I see it. But a lot of people, I mean, who hate this movie, hate it because he actually did something interesting with the Mandarin and got rid of all that racist bullshit associated with this character and actually did something interesting that comes out of the real world politic. And I really think some of the real world politics kind of rubbed some people the wrong way.
Now,
the realization that governments create straw men, boogeymen, to create fear and distrust in the real world, and it's happened time and time again in the world.
And the Mandarin is a Marvel Comics villain who is essentially every stereotype of an Asian.
And the character has been changed around. We know Tony Leung Chiu-wei is going to play him in Shang-Chi, and I can't wait. He's one of the finest actors on the planet, and he would not be playing some stereotypical part. This is a man who's very picky about what he plays these days.
Now, the whole thing with extremists and people blowing up, I thought was cool. And then Tony being a little bit like you really see Tony deal with PTSD. And the thing that's kind of weird is that at the end of the movie, he's done with being Iron Man, and he blows up all the suits, and then goes Avengers 2, and everything's normal. I was like, what happened there?
Yeah.
And the fans had a hissy fit, and Marvel did a short saying, "Oh, I'm not the real Mandarin," just to try to make people happy because people were so pissed that it wasn't.
Well, we knew he wasn't the Mandarin, but we didn't know there was actually a Mandarin, which I have no problem with that, from the comics, which I can't understand why he's such a fan favorite since he's such a racist stereotype. I mean, come on. He was a ripoff of Fu Manchu.
Wasn't he supposed to be like Iron Man's biggest nemesis?
Yeah. That's because they decided Black Widow was more interesting as a hero.
All right, keep going here. We got a movie based on literature that has now become a super meme that is used a lot. The Great Gatsby. How's this movie?
I like this movie a whole lot. Great Gatsby is just one of those Fitzgerald books that I like. I know, weird. I've seen most of the film adaptions. Of course, I only seen the trailer for the silent one because the movie's lost, and it hasn't been no prints turned up in my lifetime so far. And this is, I just really like the energy of this. The 3D is amazing. Tobey Maguire is great as the narrator. This is really his movie. Leonardo DiCaprio is playing Gatsby, but it's always been about the narrator, if you've read the book. This is, I think, Tobey Maguire's finest post-Spider-Man performance.
Wow, I've been wanting to see this, but I never got around to it. So Gatsby definitely is.
Well, I like this a lot, especially like the musical kind of the dance. It's not really a musical, but it feels like one, but it's not really a musical. I mean, it's a dazzling movie. It uses the 3D effectively.
How does it use it?
A lot of depth, a lot of movement. Even though this movie moves fast, it stays in focus and it keeps the depth, because a lot of times 3D works better if you slow it down a bit. But this, in fact, this made me wish. I said, "Damn, I wish Moulin Rouge was in 3D now."
All right, so let's keep going here. We got Star Trek Into Darkness. Now, this is a controversial movie, and it's a weird movie. So it's a second J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie based in the Kelvinverse. Jake, what are your thoughts on Into Darkness?
I actually like this more than a lot of fans do. I think a lot of people had trouble with the politics. Same way they had with Iron Man 3. And also the fact that everybody quickly figured out the twist, and they should have went in the advertising of this movie. They shouldn't have made it a twist. They should have just acknowledged what it was. And I think audiences and fans would have responded better. They just felt cheated, which is a shame, because I did think this was a good movie. Sure, I liked Beyond more, and I liked the first one more, but I still thought this was a good movie.
and I will echo you. Now, I'm in a weird spot because I was not a fan. I mean, I enjoyed 2009 a lot. I'm a big fan of Star Trek in general, but I'm not a big fan of Kirk until after this series. So I did not watch any of the original series movies. I didn't watch the original series show, but the 2009 Star Trek, it's like, okay, I'll give Kirk a chance. You know, I grew up with TNG, Next Generation, and Picard, and I love him. And, you know, Kirk was just kind of corny 60s stuff. And so I actually, after this, I did watch all of the original series. The entirety from beginning to end, and the animated TV show, and all the movies. And now I understand the why people don't like this movie. But back then, I didn't have that context. I was just going in here. I didn't pay attention. I was, you know, and I enjoyed it for what it was. But I can understand why people get really mad that Benedict Cumberbatch was Khan. Because Khan, they actually developed him in the original series. So having him, you know, in the second movie is probably the best of the, you know, Star Trek movies. So it's understandable why people got mad at this. There is definitely a whole sexist thing with that became a meme where the new doctor undresses and it's just not needed. Like it's like, come on guys, come on, you're better than that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know. They kind of had problems with the Bond movies trying to take Bond from being a misogynistic dinosaur by today's standards and turning him into a 21st century spy. That took a while. And fortunately, Daniel Craig, they figured it out by the time they cast him. And I think Kirk is one of those characters. I mean, because he's pretty. I mean, he was a walking Me Too meme.
Yeah,
the Kirk character was in the. And Khan was such a great, powerful character. I mean, Wrath of Khan is still such an incredible movie. I really like the idea they were going with, and from darkness, but I think they lost something in the execution. They got a little too cute with the multiple plot twists, and they didn't take it far enough, because they were going for something like an equivalency of the Iran-Contra or foreign policy decisions that a lot of countries make, like the enemy of my enemy is my friend no matter what they do kind of garbage that countries engage in. And I also think a lot of people don't want anything resembling a world life politic entering their fantasy world.
Yeah, I remember the 3D not being that good in this.
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like, I wasn't as impressed as I was the first time around. Of course, the lens flare was even more annoying this time around than it was the first time.
Was 2009 Star Trek 3D? I don't think it was it?
God, you're right. It wasn't. It's beyond I'm thinking of with a lot better 3D.
Yeah.
You're right. The first wreck wasn't 3D. My bad. Sorry, folks. You were absolutely right.
All right. So yeah, Star Trek Into Darkness. It's a weird movie for me. I do like it. I understand, and with all the criticisms about it. But now to another controversial movie. There's a lot of controversial movies this year.
Yeah, a lot of movies in 2013.
Yeah, a lot of movies that people were really pissed off about. A lot of fans really pissed off about this year. But, I mean, we'll see how people think. Man of Steel, the Superman movie, the new Superman movie. People hate this movie. I love it. Not love it, I really like it. Jake?
I like it, and I don't love it. And I don't hate it either. I mean, I appreciate Zack Snyder. He's not my favorite director, but he is definitely a talented man who makes some very interesting movies. So I'm always intrigued to see what. I wish he would work with his own stuff instead of adapting other media into films, because he's got so many ideas that I think he would be better off, and his audience would be better served him bringing his own stuff to life other than adapting other characters and stuff, because his ideas don't mesh with what fans want from stuff.
Now, one thing about this movie, there's a couple of things here. One, this is a origin movie, which it's kind of not necessary, I think, Superman. They could just... this was made specifically because of rights. I don't know if you know about that story or not.
It doesn't surprise me. A lot of superhero movies are done because to keep rights. And I understand why they would do an origin movie, because last time they did a Superman movie, they made it a sequel. They recast and made it a sequel to a movie that it was ancient by film goers, and audiences were confused.
Yeah, Returns.
Yeah, Returns. I mean, because most of the people most of the audience for this movie weren't even born when the Donner Supermans were made.
So this is a movie that I want to love, but I don't love. I'm a big Superman fan. I actually respect Snyder a lot. This is a movie I want to be great, but it isn't. It's one of those movies that is like a perfect 7 out of 10. And it's like, I want it to be great, but it's not there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But even though this is not a great movie, anybody who's a fan of superhero movies, I feel, needs to see this.
Yeah. The stuff they do with him growing up and saving people and struggling as a young kid, I love that. I love that.
And Kevin Costner was good as Pa Kent.
Now, that scene where he dies, I disagree with that. I think that's a legitimate thing that should not have happened. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
Well, the thing is, Snyder's trying to show from a certain political point of view that isn't shown very often in cinema. And so I do respect his choice. Would I have made the same choice? No. And also, I hate to say this, but Superman seems to be more interesting when at least one of his parents are killed. One of his foster parents are killed off.
True.
Because it works. In fact, it works better when they're both gone, because that's one of the things that Batman and Superman were trying to bond with. And I just wish, because I know everybody makes fun of the Martha thing in Batman versus Superman, but if he had been able to pull that off, it would have been brilliant. I don't know if it didn't get enough coverage to make it work, and also I think it's a little. I don't think most comic fans ever put it together that both of the women that raised them were both named Martha.
I like that, and I understand why it became a meme, but I liked it.
I thought it was a great idea. It just wasn't. It wasn't a home run. It was a bunt.
Yeah, but getting back to Man of Steel, obviously people were upset about the destruction, and they don't think Superman would have destroyed as many things. And I will defend that and say, hey, he's early on in his career, and for sake of the movie, if he did not do everything, if he did not kill Zod, then guess what? The entire Earth and everyone in the Earth would have been dead. And everything in it would have been dead.
Yeah, well, the Superman I grew up reading wouldn't have done this. But after John Byrne wrote Superman, where he killed the Phantom Zone villains, I was just like, I'm over this. My Superman is dead. Blah blah blah. And so Zack Snyder doing that, I thought was legit because Superman being a killer fandom has tolerated it for what 30 years now.
Yeah.
So he's been a killer longer than he wasn't a killer.
And people just kind of forget that in Superman 2, he just gets, he just basically tosses them into endless pit and they're dead. They're not endless pit, and but they're dead, so people don't care. But this, it was agonizing for him. He didn't want to do this, but he didn't have any option.
Yeah, this is. I mean, like I said, I would really like to see Snyder work on something that he has more control over, and that's not a property owned by a studio that they want to market toys and T-shirts and video games. In fact, I'm not that familiar with the Injustice game, but several people I know that play it, or I think there's probably several of them. I don't know. They said the Snyder universe reminds them more of the Injustice games than it does the comics.
So, I think they could have done one thing about the Man of Steel is that Clark doesn't have that many lines. And Superman, he really doesn't. And I feel like this is also a big thing where, I love Henry Cavill. I think he really looks Superman and has that look, but like he's given like 5 lines in the whole movie,
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with this movie too, I feel like it's completely an answer to everyone complaining Returns doesn't have enough action. Returns is too boring. Returns doesn't have enough things to punch, and this is the opposite. I feel like they could have had a scene at the end after they wrapped up and, maybe Superman was helping all these buildings get put back up. I think that would have helped.
I think one of the biggest problems the DC EU had at this time period was Warner Brothers wanted Christopher Nolan to do their entire universe. And he was burnt out because I can't believe he did 3 Batman movies. I mean, that just is mind-blowing that he directed 3 Batman movies. I mean, that's just mind-blowing to me that a director of his caliber would get down and dirty and just do 3 comic book movies. And I think the problem is he didn't want to do an expanded universe, but Warner Brothers did, and they wanted this universe to be in the mold of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight series. And they hire Zack Snyder, who is not anywhere remotely similar director. He just has a moody, dark aesthetic sometimes, but he is nothing like Nolan as a director. And they think they tried to shoehorn his vision into being a Christopher Nolan light.
And, okay, so Warner Brothers made this movie because they're losing the rights, and they had to do an origin movie. They had to do Zod because part of the rights, and I think whoever is alive from Schuster and they're pissed off because over the decades, Warner Brothers and DC has treated them terribly, absolutely terribly. And they were ready to go say, screw you guys, we're going to Marvel. And of course, DC Comics and Warner Brothers would never allow that because Superman is such a big icon. They would not want Marvel to have it, but so they're like, we have to make this movie. We have to have an origin story. We have to have Zod, and those are the reasons why they made the movie. And then the writer here is a part of the problem, which is David Goyer. And he has a really weird resume. He was a writer of The Dark Knight, the story, and a writer of Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, and the writer of Man of Steel, the writer of Dark City. So he has a very weird, dark sense, and I think he was too dark for Superman. So, I want to love it, but it's so on the edge. It's like you could be lighter, have more fun. Visually, I give credit to Snyder. Visually, it's awesome. The 3D actually was very weak, which is very disappointing.
Oh, it's because I think a lot of the darkness and because where I saw it, the 3D wasn't that great. In the home video release, the 3D's not that great either. It's one of those discs that I don't dig out real often because I know I have to tweak my system to watch it, and then I have to tweak it back to watch anything else.
All right, so we got a whole bunch more movies, so we got to keep going. World War Z, zombie movie with Tom Cruise. I dig this movie.
No, Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is another one that fanboys screamed like stuck pigs over the politics of it, because it's and a lot of purists who are fans of the Max Brooks book, the son of Mel Brooks. He wrote this. He's written a lot of great zombie books. World War Z. The movie is set in the same universe, but it is not based on the book at all. It's more or less a prequel to the book.
And it's based on a UN employee who hears about zombies and they're trying to find a way to get the cure. And the movie ended in a weird way because like they had to reshoot the ending, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is It made tons of money. I like this movie a lot. Is it a 10? No. It's got some great zombie action. It kind of follows more the 28 Days model of zombies. They're fast-moving, frenzied, so they're not slow and stupid like in a lot of other movies. I mean, yeah, they don't show great intelligence, but they move very quickly.
And the towers that they would make were like ants. I really like that visual, and that idea is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, the sequel, I thought it was almost done, but then it got canceled like halfway through production or something, right?
Yeah, that's a damn shame. But I would not be surprised if we see World Wars Z, Max Brooks's zombie verse resurrected either on cable or another film in the near future.
It would be a cool TV show, if they want to have something. I know zombie TV shows are kind of passe now, but HBO Max, that could be something cool for that.
Mm-hmm. I figure in a few years, there'll be nostalgia again for zombies. They'll probably be, they'll go through vampires and werewolves and some other monsters for a bit, then they'll come back to zombies.
How was the 3D?
I remember being impressed with it. A few times I would jump in my seat. There were some nice visuals.
Now, from one,
I mean, it was a good conversion.
Okay. Now, from one movie to another, one monster movie to another monster movie, Monsters University by Pixar. I think it's good, but not great.
Yeah. It's a serviceable sequel. I mean, this is not Cars 2 here.
Technically it's a prequel, right?
Yeah, technically it's a prequel. But it came out second, so I'm going to refer to it as a sequel. It existed because the first one made lots of money.
And you get to have here all the cast come back, basically all the big people, and you have a big university kind of movie with
Yeah. Strangely, it reminded me. It had a Flintstones vibe to it because the two leads remind me so much. Scully and and Mike remind me so much of Fred and Barney's personalities. And this even more so. The school and the partying, and I mean it. This is not Pixar's finest moment, but like I said, after Cars 2, this seems like a masterpiece in comparison.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. I enjoyed it. I didn't see it in the theater. I waited to watch it at home, and I was happy that I waited. How was the 3D?
Pretty good. Like I said, it's Pixar quality. The 3D was really good. The character designs are great. It's beautiful to look at.
All right.
I just hope if they do another one, they come up with a better story.
Yeah. The whole tropes of college and fraternities, I don't think that at all makes sense anymore. Like, I feel like that was a whole big thing in the past. And, college fraternities were not, I went to college 10 years ago, and that's not how fraternities were. And the experience wasn't like that at all. It just, meh.
Yeah, this is set in a world that the people who remember are the grandparents of the audience for this movie.
Yeah, the old college, university kind of cliches. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a movie made for 8-year-olds with references that only people over 60 will get.
Yeah. So let's keep going here. We got Despicable Me 2. How would you like this one, Jake?
This is not as good as the first one. It's okay. Don't get me wrong. It's okay. But they just kind of do a lot of the stuff from the first movie differently. It's not bad. It's a hell of a lot better than the third one. But it's nowhere near as good as the first one. The 3D's fine. The character designs are nice. Unfortunately, it's more Minion heavy.
Yeah, this is now a big franchise with Minions 2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Minions have become the yellow Smurfs.
I think, if anything, they're worse than Smurfs. At least
Yeah.
the Smurfs had characters. The Minions are just... and it's just annoying.
I know. They're trying to give them characters, but their only differences are visual, really. They don't have any individual personality, really.
So let's keep going here. Another action movie, Pacific Rim. I like this Pacific Rim.
So did I.
Guillermo del Toro.
Mm-hmm. And if you love giant mechs, Godzilla movies, you'll probably love this.
I like the idea that it was like an Avatar where like the people would be inside a machine and then how they control the robot, and then you have these other creatures. They did try to explain some of the story. That's where it kind of falls apart. The action scenes are fun, but the story part, I was like, okay, whatever. And
some of the 3D gets kind of lost in the darkness, kind of like Godzilla King of the Monsters. A few scenes, it gets lost, but it's still worthwhile to see this in 3D. This has got a great cast, a good story. It's if you love giant thunder lizards, Godzilla type things, and giant mechs, this is right up your alley.
And it felt like they were honoring the Japanese kaiju films, but they weren't. It was like an honor to them, but it wasn't ripping them off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're right about the darkness in there. This is the monster movie that has all the fight scenes in darkness, and just like, stop it. Just let me see these creatures, fight in the sunlight and not rain. And, obviously they had to do that for budget, but it's still frustrating to see that,
Even in the dark, the rain looked good in 3D.
So, this is one of the movies that, why did it take forever to get a sequel? It should have been a sequel 2 years, 3 years after, not...
I know, and then the sequel was kind of lackluster.
So, talking about another lackluster movie. Turbo, the super fast slug. Remember this movie, Jake?
Vaguely. I just remember, I think I've seen it. I think I've seen it in 3D, but I don't remember it.
So let's keep going here to another movie. R.I.P.D. I never seen this.
I remember this You would think Ryan Reynolds and Jeff Bridges, how in the hell can they go wrong? Those two could read a phone book and be funny. This movie is such a misfire.
And a bomb at that.
I remember the 3D being pretty good in most scenes. I don't remember any scenes that irritated me other than dialogue and shitty plot. This is one that make you cry. You might want to put on 3D glasses so nobody sees you cry at how disappointed you are. I mean, really, Ryan Reynolds and Jeff Bridges, and this is what you come up with? This is based on a comic book, but any resemblance is purely coincidental. It's just a disappointment.
Now, speaking of another comic book movie, this is a weird movie. I like it. It's trash, but it's not really bad trash. The Wolverine.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's light years better than Origins.
It's better than Origins. The one where Wolverine goes to Japan, you know.
But it ain't nearly as good as Old Man Logan.
Logan is... it's so weird that, you know, Wolverine as a character was such a standout character in the X-Men movies. And Hugh Jackman did such a great job. But not until they gave him a full R rating that they're able to actually make Wolverine into what he is and understand everything about him. You know, they really hit it out of the park with Logan. But this movie, it's just like, what is going on here? He wants to die. This other guy wants to live. It's a mess.
There's some great set pieces. There's some great 3D, but it's a really disjointed movie. And I think part of it is like one of the minor villains, Viper. She was one of those characters that we shared. And Fox owned the Viper part of her, and Disney owned the Madam Hydra version of her. But we're not going to have these issues anymore because Disney now owns Fox.
Yeah. So does that mean they own the Smurfs?
They might have the U.S. Film rights to the Smurfs, but the Smurfs are owned by some conglomerate in Europe or Belgium, I believe.
Oh, it was a bad segue. It's actually done by Sony. So Smurfs 2 came out this year, too. I never watched any of the Smurfs movies. I was a big fan of Smurfs when I was a kid, but I'm not a kid anymore.
The first one is worthwhile. Neil Patrick Harris is hilarious. Tim Gunn is really good in a support role. The second one is pretty much hot garbage.
So
it only existed because the first one made money.
Yeah, it looked bad.
It might entertain preschoolers, but I think anybody else would be bored to tears.
All right, another movie here. Percy Jackson, The Sea of Monsters, the second Percy Jackson movie. I enjoyed the first one, but I never watched this one, and I think they were really, really trying to make this into a next, big kind of young adults kind of movie, and it just kind of flopped by Fox. Do you remember this or not?
I think I fell asleep watching this.
All right, let's move on then to Planes, next Pixar movie. This first spin-off Pixar movie from Cars. Oh, oh my God, I totally did not want to watch this movie. I was like, all right, Pixar, you lost me.
This kind of reminded me of a couple of Tex Avery cartoons about the life of planes, but without the jokes and really expanded on and really dragged out. I remember the 3D was very good in this, but the only reason I remember anything fondly about this is because Cars 2 is so god-awful. And this seems like a masterpiece in comparison. But it's not nearly as interesting as the first Cars movie. It doesn't have any gravitas or weight to it. Like, they don't have somebody like Paul Newman, a character in this. Planes, it's just more of it's real formulaic. They said instead of a car, we've got planes, and it's just the same sort of beats. Nothing really original. It's just a rehash of cars, except with planes, and then they don't have any sort of real weighty subplots with other characters.
Is it connected to cars in any way, or is it just so happens to be other anthropomorphic vehicles?
To tell you the truth, I don't really remember if there were any. I don't recall any cars talking and stuff in it, but I think of them as being in the same world, but I don't really think they are. I remember the sequel to this more than when they actually do something interesting, when they become rescue, when they go put out forest fires and stuff.
Now, this was going to be originally a direct-to-DVD movie, but then at the last minute, Disney was like, nah, we can make a ton of money on this. Let's put it in theaters.
They should have made it direct. But the 3D is nice.
All right.
So, people in the U.S., you'll probably pay a small fortune. I don't think it's worth the hassle of getting this on disc.
Now, this time period has a lot of music movies, and we haven't seen these movies, but we'll just throw it out there just for fun's sake. One Direction, This Is Us, came out this year, and another movie, Metallica. So we had 2 song music movies here. Jake, did you watch either one of them?
Nope.
Me neither.
After Glee, I surrendered and was like, I'm not watching any of these.
All right, so the next movie here is a Japanese movie that I don't know anything about, but Jake, you say it's pretty great. Space Pirate Captain Harlock?
Yeah.
What's this about?
This is a reimagining of the old Captain Harlock character. Eye patch, modernized, moody, beautiful character designs, nice 3D. This is available in an international cut and in a dubbed American version, dubbed in English, or you can get it in the original. Of course, all animation's dubbed, but you can get it in its international Japanese version as well. It's a more grown up, more thoughtful. The hardcore seem to not like it. People who are more casual seem to dig it more, because they do take a lot of liberties with the source material, which I had no problem with, because there were a lot of things about the source material that I didn't care for. I thought a lot of the original character designs were weak, and some of the story was too melodramatic and blah, blah, blah. And I generally like it. I thought it was nice animation, good 3D. Little on the long side, it could have been shorter. The international cut could have been shorter. But I thought the American cut, they chopped things that they should have left and left things they should have chopped out. But hey, if you like anime, it's well worth seeking out.
Now, James Cameron actually praised the 3D in this movie. So you think the 3D was really that great?
Yep. Yeah, it's above average even for an animated film.
All right. Next up, Jake, is Wizard of Oz. This is a re-release of the original. Have you seen this one in 3D?
Yes. Yeah, they did a gorgeous conversion on the 1939 version of The Wizard of Oz, and had it rated by the MPA, and they gave it they said the 3D was more intense, so they gave it a PG rating.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Yeah, they said the 3D made it more intense and scary for children.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a classic. I mean, Wizard of Oz, I think, is a beautiful movie, great color, and it's one of the movies that it's like, oh wow, this is a big deal. This is a
Yeah,
landmark.
considered one of the greatest movies ever made. It's one of the reasons why a lot of film buffs think Hollywood movies from 1939, why that was such a golden, classic, wonderful year, which I agree. In fact, I always challenge people, try to find a bad movie made in 1939 released by Hollywood.
How was the 3D in this? How did they convert it? What's special about it?
Really good. I mean, yeah, they could have been. It was obviously they didn't even think about shooting it for 3D. There were a few scenes that were kind of cardboardy, which is why I wouldn't give it an editor's choice. But this is a well worthwhile experience in 3D, and this did get a US release in 3D. I was kind of a little bit irritated because the 3D disc wasn't part of the really big super collection that they put out. So if you're like me and a real hardcore Oz fan, that meant you had to buy uh, a separate Blu-ray collection of the to get all the goodies, and then the 3D disc, the double dip. But hey, I found a Canadian release that uh, was really good. Not only did it have, the original Oz, it had the silence, it had the cartoon that came out before uh, the 39 version, but it also had the TV movie about bombs starring John Ritter. So I was very happy to get that collection from Canada.
Now, I remember getting the 2D Blu-ray of it, and it is so gorgeous.
Mm,
So yeah, it holds up so well. They got the original negative, I think, and cleaned it up because I never saw it this pretty, ever.
oh, and this was filmed in tri-strip Technicolor, which is like the most vibrant Technicolor of all time. I mean, this movie just looks absolutely gorgeous, and this looked absolutely gorgeous on even a faux IMAX screen. This still looked marvelous, and thank God they kept it in its original aspect ratio format. It's Academy ratio 4:3, and didn't try to widescreen it like Disney Plus has done with the early seasons of The Simpsons.
Which they did recently fixed, which took months to do. Which is like, come on, it shouldn't take months. It should be a few phone calls and some behind the scenes time, sure, but not months.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's keep going here to Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. How was this?
It's not as good as the first one, but it's worthwhile. It's a worthwhile sequel. It actually moves the story forward and has a few things to say, and it's cute and it's quirky. And Lord and Miller weren't as hands-on with this as they were the first one, and it shows, but it's still worthwhile. It's still a fun, it's still a 7-8.
Okay, let's keep going here. We got quite a few left, big ones. Young Detective D, Rise of the Sea Dragon. What is this?
Oh, this is part of a Hong Kong series about Judge D, but when he was much younger. Good luck finding this on in 3D. I got it when it came out within a week. It's been out of print. It sells for big bucks. It's gotten a few European releases, but they don't have English subs. And I don't believe there's an English dub for this in any market unless they release. The US got a release, but it's not in 3D, which is a shame. I remember the 3D being really good in this. And it's just a big action with some pretty good CG effects. China's kind of stepping into their own as making blockbuster action movies. And I've always liked Judge D. He was one of those cool detective characters. It's kind of like China's answer to Charlie Chan.
Okay. I know nothing about this, so I can't add anything to it. So let's keep going here from a Chinese movie to a Russian movie, Stalingrad.
Oh, God. This reminds me of those early 60s kind of melodramatic message movies. You know, they usually have Ava Marie Saint and a whole bunch of European and actors. They have guys like Louis Jourdan and Omar Sharif and Eva Marie Saint and sometimes Paul Newman. It starts off with the framing device of a modern day disaster, and then these rescue workers start talking about the heroes of Stalingrad, and the 3D is great,
Okay.
but the story is just so cliched and so propaganda-ish, and you're gonna laugh. The unintentional humor is. I laughed quite a bit watching this on the big screen.
Okay, so let's keep going from Russia to Italy and Spain. Dracula 3D. What is this about?
Oh my God, this is easily the worst 3D movie to come out of 2013. It's even worse than R.I.P.D. Dario Argentino lost his damn mind. There's some really bad CGI. There's some gorgeous 3D in this, gorgeous cinematography. But I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Rutger Hauer is great as Van Helsing. I mean, this is so bad you've got to see it to believe it. I picked this up on disc for $5. I'm sure you can probably find some people have told me they have found it at the dollar store in 3D. It's a train wreck. Dario Argentino lost his damn mind. The praying mantis stuff, you will be going, what the hell? It's mind-bogglingly nonsensical, but there's some great 3D. Just not a whole lot of plot.
All right, so we've been around the world from China to Russia to Italy. Now, a movie that's out of this world for most of it, Gravity. Now, that's a segue.
Yeah. And this is a great one.
Gravity is awesome.
Yeah, some of this was actually shot in 3D and some of it's conversion, and I can't tell the difference, which is what it should be. This is absolutely gorgeous movie to watch in 3D. I couldn't imagine watching this movie in 2D. This is a must-have if you can if you're watching 3D movies at home. This is one of the discs you should have. It's absolutely beautiful movie. It shows off what your TV can do beautifully. This is such a great movie. I even sure it's you may on repeat viewings, you know, the suspense won't be there, but you'll see the little details you'll pick up in repeat viewings make it worthwhile. Yeah, this one will get your adrenaline going. It's really suspenseful.
Yeah, so Gravity is a sci-fi movie about an astronaut who's trying to find her way back home, but is falling back or trying to get back safely to Earth. And the 3D, you know, space and 3D just go perfectly well together because it makes total sense, you know.
Yeah, and George Clooney's got a small part in this that's really good.
And this is a thriller, which is not something that's very often for sci-fi. And this, the 3D complements this so well. My wife said, "Wow, what a movie! I never want to see it again, but wow, what a movie!"
Yeah.
Because it was intense.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is one of these movies. I can think of a lot of actresses who could have done this. Jodie Foster, most notably. But Sandra Bullock did it, and she did a great job.
Yeah, and it's intense. It that doesn't really let you go, and you feel like you're there with her as she's experiencing everything, trying to get back to Earth safely, and it's such a great thriller. It's an experience. If anything, I know people get mad about experience movies, but I would love to have this be a D-Box IMAX 3D experience. Oh my god.
The audience I saw this with were as quiet as church mice. They were all kind of leaning forward in their seats, waiting to see what happened next. And there were plenty of gasps and oohs and things. I mean, the audience was really captured by this when I saw it.
It just grips you. It's one of those movies where you're gripping your armrest in the theater. Oh my god, oh my god. And obviously, you can figure out what the conclusion is, but still the ride, just having that there and everything going wrong. And I think there's some scientists that said that it is not seriously realistic, but I mean, it looks very realistic. It doesn't seem too far-fetched.
Yeah, the only way you're going to get more reality than this is to watch the SpaceX launch and orbit on the NASA channel.
All right, let's go back to Earth and have a French Canadian movie called The Young and the Prodigious T.S. Spivet. I don't know anything about this, Jake.
Oh, this is an incredible 3D movie. If I had to pick the best one of 2013, this would be my pick for the top one. And that's with movies like Gravity and The Great Gatsby. I mean, that tells the 3D is editor's choice in this. It is absolutely spectacular. I don't think this got any sort of release in the US. I was so blown away by this movie. Somebody showed me. I picked up the French Blu-ray edition of this because I had to have a copy of my own. This is an incredible movie. It got lost in the shuffle of. I don't. I can imagine part of the problem is towards the end of the movie there's an MF bomb dropped by a minor character, and this does feel like a family movie because it's about a young intelligent boy who goes on a journey and travels by rail. It's just a really nice, awesome movie that just happens to have an MF bomb in it, and which I think would probably get it a PG-13, but apparently the MPA wanted to give it an R, and this is not an R movie. I mean, it's a PG movie in reality. Absolutely gorgeous. Great acting, great characters. It's gotten a few other releases in 3D around the world. You might be able to find something other than the French special edition, which has burnt-in subtitles, which really play havoc with the 3D presentation, unless you've got a player that can remove forced subtitles.
Okay, so let's keep going here. Freebirds. This is a movie about the restaurant, about making burritos, right?
No, this is let's make a movie for Thanksgiving.
With animated birds and is completely forgettable in every way, right?
Yep, I just remember the 3D being decent, but it's utterly forgettable.
One of the very, very few movies about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's a turkey.
Uh, okay. Now that's a turkey. What about this movie? Thor the Dark World. Oh, God.
This is easily the worst movie put out by Marvel.
Oh man, oh man. And then they reference it in Avengers Infinity War, not Infinity War, but Endgame, and
Endgame.
it's a beautiful reference to this bad movie.
Yeah. Well, this is the Marvel movie Patty Jenkins was working on and left. Then they brought in a Game of Thrones director to do it.
Alan Tater.
Yeah. And the makeup job they put on Christopher Eccleston to play Malky. The guy couldn't emote. They would have been better off doing the character in CG and then just letting Eccleston voice it, or did a capture performance.
And the whole thing was about, the Infinity Stone and it being like a liquid and you have to, inject it, and it's like a portal game where all these portals are popping up, and it's just bad.
It just goes everywhere. The 3D is weird. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. So it's not even that great on a 3D level.
Oh, and Loki is in this movie that he really doesn't need to be, but he is, and like tries to save the movie from being total disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thor: Dark World is awful, and it's one of those movies that you just kind of, oh boy,
It's a 5.
yeah, and it's kind of sad that Thor's friends, are in here. Like, this is the last time we see them. We don't really get to see them referenced after this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank God Taika Waititi had a really good idea for the third Thor movie. Otherwise, this character would be not getting his own movies again. Because I would have swore this would have killed Thor as a viable franchise.
Yeah. This is one of those movies you just kind of bite your lip and be like, all right, I'll watch it because it's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then you kind of, all right, done with that. Never watching that again.
I've actually seen this on the big screen twice.
Woo. That's hardcore.
Tell me about it. I thought I should get a merit badge for that.
All right, let's keep going here. We got a little movie that people just can't let go. Frozen. Frozen's a really good movie. I really like it.
Yeah, Frozen's good. I want to know why in the hell Disney, in their ultimate wisdom, decided the biggest hit they've had in decades, why it could not get a US 3D release.
Blu-ray.
Yeah, on Blu-ray. At least we got to see it in 3D in the theaters.
Yeah. And this, Let It Go has just become it became like a #1 hit in the music charts. This became a movie that all of the kids and little girls wanted to see, and just became a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Months. It came out in November, and I think it was still hit like in February of 2014.
Yeah, I can see in 10 years Elsa being the spokes character for Disney instead of Mickey Mouse. This thing is such a monster hit.
And it had positive female role models in there, and it was actually a really cool story. I liked it. Cool intended, pun intended. Wop, wop, wop.
Mm-hmm.
I like Frozen. I like it a lot. I didn't think it was an amazing balls movie, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought the sequel was a better movie, which is rare, but it showed that they cared enough about this to move it forward, not just do a cash grab. Yeah, Frozen 2 is really good.
I remember Frozen before it came out. the trailer for it, I was just like, oh my god, can you make this worse? Because it had basically Olaf was a big part of it, and then it had the deer on the ice, and it was scooting because it had, butt itches, and it was just like, wow, I really, really don't want to see this movie. And then it got great reviews, and I was like, all right, I'll watch it. And I was like, this is actually really great.
Yeah, I got dragged to see this opening week. I got dragged. The neighbors was like, "Oh, take our kids. We don't want to go see it."
That whole joke about the dog or the animal scooching its butt, can it please just rest that joke forever? It's just so overplayed.
Hey, with the way toilet paper became unavailable, I'm surprised my neighbors weren't doing it this month or last month.
It just, I guess it's funny, but like it's just been overused by so many movies over the years. And if your dog or cat do that, you need to take it to a vet. It's not funny. It's actually worms right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, take your pet to the vet.
all right, let's keep going here to a Chinese Hong Kong movie, The 4-2.
Okay, this is a series. There's 3 movies so far, and they're called The Four. And they're basically the X-Men, but set in, I can't tell you which dynasty off the top of my head. I'm not that familiar with Chinese history, but yeah, it's basically feudal China, the pre-industrial revolution, China. I'm putting it in Western terms. Sorry about that, but they're basically the X-Men, but complete with a guy in a wheelchair, in a bamboo wheelchair.
Okay.
They are not. This is trashy 80s style Hong Kong action with decent 3D. And there's a lot of slumming Hong Kong actors in here who are much better than this material. This is a paycheck for them.
Okay. And the 3D?
It's okay. You can get this pretty cheap. I don't think the first one's in 3D, but 2 and 3 are, which seems to be something that's very common with series like Percy Jackson and Harry Potter, Star Trek. They don't make them all in 3D, just like 1 or 2 of them.
Now, something that was made for high-tech people, but is set in a fantasy universe, The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. Do you watch this movie?
Yeah, I've seen it. Could I tell you anything about it? Probably not. The Hobbit movies just seem to blur one into the other. They don't seem to me. I can't keep them as separate as I could the Lord of the Rings. I think part of that is because the Hobbit movies just seem to go. They adapted other things other than the Hobbit and added. I mean, the Hobbit is the thinnest book of Middle Earth, and they made 3 movies out of it.
Now, Benedict Cumberbatch, he's the Smaug.
Yeah, Smaug the Dragon.
And this is the second movie in the trilogy. I said this before with the other one. I gave up on the first one, never looked back.
I just remember these were screened and you could see them in high frame rate, and they looked absolutely gorgeous.
48 frames per second.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It looked absolutely gorgeous.
Which is really weird. I don't know why they chose 48 frames instead of, a round number, but whatever.
Because you just double 24 frames.
Oh, okay. That might make sense.
And I haven't seen any of the super higher frame rate stuff, so I can't say about because Gemini Man, I saw a high frame rate, but it was not the super high frame rate either. And it looked good. But since I haven't seen any of the real high frame rate stuff, I can't attest to whether it looks fake or not. But the stuff I've seen, like in 48, looked really nice. 3D, it worked great because it just it creates more light, but 3D eats light, so it kind of balances out. And to me, my brain just it feels like what I'm actually seeing is real.
I know a lot of people don't like the higher frame rate movies. And this is, actually kind of rare. So we haven't, this first came out in 2013, but besides Gemini Man, I cannot remember any other movie that's filmed in high frame rate.
Uh, well, there's been some that have been screened, like one of the Guardians movies was, I think the second one was screened in a couple of theaters in high frame rate, but nothing near me. Heck, I was lucky to see it in 3D.
Okay. So let's keep going here. We got a few more movies. Um, Police Story 2013 or Police Story Lockdown. It's kind of a weird thing talking about this now in 2020.
It's a reboot of Jackie Chan's Police Story series from the 80s. It did not get a home video release in 3D, and there's no theaters anywhere near me that are running Asian 3D movies on any sort of. I mean, even when The Wandering Earth played here, they didn't run it in 3D. So I'm really disappointed because I really wanted to see this movie in 3D.
And this is a standalone movie with a darker tone. I'm just reading off Wikipedia, and it's the 6th movie in the franchise.
Yeah, it's a start over.
Okay, let's keep going here. 47 Ronin is actually filmed in 3D, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, this is a Japanese I'm sure there's another country worked on it too. This is one of those co-productions. Keanu Reeves is in it. It's based on a Japanese legend about 47 samurai who lose their masters, and it's not real faithful to the original story in some ways. In other ways, it's very faithful. It's a decent movie. If you like Keanu Reeves, you like 3D, you like samurai movies, you'll dig it.
This is actually a big flop, right? It didn't make that much money. Released on Christmas Day.
Yeah, this didn't make a whole lot of money. It had a really crappy ad campaign, and I also think this was a year the market was flooded with 3D movies.
And I think this is before Keanu Reeves became super.
Yeah, the Keanu-sance hadn't started back up again.
Yeah, because in 2014 is when John Wick came out, and he's awesome in John Wick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's awesome in this too. He's just not the main character.
All right. How was the 3D in this?
It was good. It wasn't like editor's choice, and there were some scenes that didn't work. But overall, I would say I would give it good 3D.
Even though it's filmed in 3D, you still were awesome with it.
Yeah, I mean, some of these conversions are getting really good, and sometimes the filming stuff, they have technical problems. A lot of it has to do with lighting things.
All right. Last movie of 2013, The House of Magic, a French movie. What's this about, Jake?
This is a little animated movie about a little black kitty. I don't remember a whole lot about it, except it's gotten lots of name changes like House of Thunder, House of Magic. It was a Walmart 3D exclusive for a long time.
What?
Yeah, that the only place you could get a 3D copy of it was Walmart.
Wow, fascinating.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it. Don't own a copy. Because mainly, I think one Walmart got one copy and sold it and never bothered to restock it. I just remember it having nice animation. The U.S. release, of course, has English. I believe European ones, you can get the original dubs. I don't know if it was cut for U.S. release or anything like that. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I don't remember hating it, but I don't remember loving it either. And I haven't seen it since 2013.
Now, speaking about cats, just in case you guys heard, my cats were fighting in the background. I separated them. They're fine. I know people care about things like that in podcasts. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but they were fighting and they're in separate rooms now. So, yeah, anyway, 2013. Wow. What a year for 3D movies. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, what's your favorite movie of 2013?
I would say The Young and Prodigious T.S. Spivet.
Okay, I'm going to say it's tough, but I think Gravity for me.
Yeah, that's a real good one too. And so is The Great Gatsby. World War Z is really good. Pacific Rim.
All right, best superhero movie. I guess Man of Steel because Thor's trash.
Yeah.
Iron Man 3 is not bad, but I don't
I
know.
think I'd give it to Iron Man 3.
All right, best animated.
Best animated. Hmm. Technically, a lot of these are animated, but they got so much stuff in them. But God, I guess Monsters Inc. and University or Planes.
All right, what's your hidden gem movie that everyone probably forgot about?
Great Gatsby.
Okay.
Because that's really good, and people just seem to have forgotten about it.
I think it just became a meme, and I don't know who people actually watched the movie.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, 2013. It's one hell of a year. That's it for us. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Before this podcast wraps up, I want to thank my patrons. Thank you, Kano3D and Mr. Bengal 5 for your financial support on Patreon.com. So that's going to be it for this podcast. Thanks for listening. You can find 3D or 2D on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, and more. Just look for 3D or 2D. Links are in the info box. If you want to send us listener mail, our email address is email3dortwo@gmail.com. Thank you for either listening or watching this podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.